Jim the Tailor here.
Hey guys, Victoria Baylor, professional dressmaker. Nice to have you here. You found yourself at another episode of the Tailor and the Dressmaker show. We're delighted that you're here, right, Mr. Jim?
Sure am. It's been some very good times that we're in, and there are very good times ahead of all of us sewers.
That's right.
You're hearing more and more of them talk about the need for this. And this is why we keep encouraging you guys who are on the edge of should I or shouldn't I? Yes, you should. At least you better should.
Well, I think what Mr. Jim is definitely trying to say is that there are tons of opportunities out there for people, for sewers. A lot of people underestimate that fact. And that if you just kind of fine-tune your skills, you'd be surprised where you end up. Isn't that right?
That's so true. And because of what has come about, I thought about adding something in, and it's the plus size. As you've seen, everybody's harping on the plus size. I've been saying this for years. I think the most difficult thing with talking about the plus size, and this will tie right in to our today's session. I teach all of my students how to deal and juggle plus sizes. I think I'm going to do something special on how to make all these plus sizes work.
Okay. Okay. Well, you know, it's funny because I saw, Tim Gunn recently did an article, or he did like a video really chastising the what you call it, industry. Thank you. The fashion industry, because the designers don't produce enough clothing for plus size women, who actually I think comprise, what did he say? It was like 40 or 50, maybe higher than that percentage of the market. It's crazy, and the average size woman is a size 16. I did not know that.
That's
did not know that nowadays.
I've known that. Now let me say this real quick and real summarize. The industry for all these years have been geared to 17% of women. Most people didn't know that. That's what you see on the runway and in the stores. Those are the sizes that now it has flip-flopped.
And it seems like it's kind of a conspiracy, because then the rest of the women spend all their time doing dieting, exercising, filling up those sectors, buying those products so they can try and fit into this small bubble of those 17% women that are like size 0 or something.
I mean, 83% of y'all aren't. And that's 83%. Now, that was then, but like he was saying now the sizing is geared towards a size 16. It used to be an 8.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, things are changing, sizes are changing, everything should change with it. I mean, heck, Barbie changed with it. I think they came up with a plus size Barbie.
Yeah, they do.
But the fashion industry is a little bit slow in that department. So yes, we will look forward to your future resources on that department, subject. As far as today's show goes, we're going to talk about, and actually this does tie in with Mr. Jim's saying, because you should be able to make adjustments to your body no matter if you're big or small. But we, as promised, are kind of hitting on a November fall clothing fitting series. We have 4 or 5 weeks in this month. It's crazy, it's how fast it's going. And we're just going to touch on certain type of garments and just kind of help remind you, refresh some of you, and then teach some of you the most important elements of fitting those garments, what you should look out for, what you need to change, all that good stuff. Right, Mr. Jim?
That's true. Now, as we all know, and we'll start this off talking about the most common area that needs to be fitted all the time in all clothing, especially for women.
And what's that area?
That's the shoulder area, across the back area. When the manufacturers make clothes and they come up with a style and they make that style, once again, like I said, they've made it for that 17%. But now it has changed now, because but that was the average size of a size 8, now it's a 16. Well, what actually happens when they make a garment, especially a jacket,
These are some from my closet, y'all.
You know, especially a jacket. If they take this style and this size and they make it a bigger size, they make everything bigger.
Oh gosh.
So when you guys get a garment, it's usually too big across here.
Yeah. Especially if you're big busted. A lot of my clients and friends are big busted. They assume that just because you're larger circumferentially, I just made up that word, your circumference is larger. They assume your shoulders are larger, your waist is larger, everything. But that's a different.
Well, that's what industry does. So you get a garment to fit the lower part of you, and it's too big in the upper part of you. That's why I've done so many things on shoulders, back width, blade area. Okay, now this area right here gets too big too. I don't care how busty you are. If the woman turns around, she gets all this excess fabric in here.
And that's if you buy ready to wear. This
Ready
is the
to
kind
wear.
of problems you encounter, which is why those of you that sew have the advantage. You can get around these
Right.
problems by knowing what to change and what
Right.
to look out for.
When you deal with this area here, you always have to consider two things. If you take a garment in, as far as the fit, and you get it to fit through the body, if you don't clean this area out here, then this whole area comes in. This area looks big. It's not physically bigger, but it looks bigger because you didn't do anything up here. This is a problem that everybody has. And then it's also what I talk about, the shoulder width. That's this width here. When manufacturers make even those 17%, they still make this too wide. That's why I do so much on shoulders. I've gotten a lot of good responses back from you guys that have seen my shoulder area downloads or where YouTube. I got several
That's
of them
right, you
out
narrowed
there.
a jacket. So
You
yeah,
know,
that one got big.
it's the same thing, but they automatically make this too big. This is what I'm talking about plus size. Why? This area here, up here on the shoulder, is not as wide. It might be bigger, but it's not as wide as the industry perceives it, and they make their garments up.
It's not likely you're going to gain weight in that area.
You never
You're going
do.
to gain. I mean, your arms can get a
biceps.
little bit more fleshy.
Right.
That's right. Your biceps,
That little area,
but not this area.
is the same.
That's right.
There's an old cliche that you used to hear a lot of time. Oh, that person's just big boned.
Yeah.
Heard that say.
Yeah.
Actually, scientifically, bones are basically all the same size. If you ever look at a skeletal, bones, the width of a bone is the same size. I don't care how big you are. What happens is the surrounding area, which is the meat on, the flesh on our body, it gets bigger. But people talk about their big bone. It's not the bone. It's the flesh around the bone.
I guess genetically that's all different for different people and different sizes.
That's it. But the physical skeletal bone is about the same on everybody. This area here is not a big area on, I don't care what size you are, male or female. I do a lot of work on males and females in this area. And some people are the plus size, plus, the super plus. This area is always still too big because the manufacturer figure if I widthen it here, I widthen it there too.
Yeah, and then that just throws off the entire fit of a jacket because if you're going to get a jacket, it should fit properly. So, Mr. Jim, I actually have, so these are some kind of jackets I bought, but I have a jacket I think I made. I'm going to try on the jacket. I'm going to turn around, face the camera so you can see my back.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Jim will just we'll talk a little bit about measurements. That work for you?
Okay.
We'll do that right now.
This is what I'm talking about, is this area right here. Now, technically speaking, this area sits against the neck. This is physically where the shoulder is. See, this is the area that they make too large. So, this is the area we're talking about when you buy something. Now, when you make something, you should reduce this on your pattern before you sew it all up. Especially if you know that this area here is too big. Well, this is the area that I'm talking about in question. If this is too big right here. This area right here, and also back here. This area here comes along the base of the back. This area right in here. Okay? All of this should be reduced, but it should be reduced together. If you take this area in and you don't do anything with this area here becomes more focused. If you take it in the body of the jacket down here and you don't go up through the armhole, then this sticks out even further. So you get all of this. Now, a lot of you guys don't want to get into doing this area here because you have to physically open the armhole. So what? It was stitched in. You just open it in this area right here. Take this now all the way up and in. So what happens is when you do all of that, you get a cleaner fit, see, across the back. That's the way it should look, right there.
Now that does reduce the armhole a little bit, right?
Not really.
Not really, okay.
It really doesn't reduce the armhole.
Okay, because you're not going exactly through the
No,
armhole.
no.
Okay,
Well, no. You are going into the armhole, but doesn't reduce it. Why? Because when you set the sleeve back on, you move the sleeve out because this whole dimension in here changes. It physically changes because the two areas that were once even, when you take it in, they end up being one higher than the other. Mm-hmm. So when you clean that back out, it puts the armhole back in the same position, except now this area here fits better. It should lay down like that. Mm-hmm. Should lay down like that.
I've done that alteration. It is amazing how it does go back and fit.
It goes back into the same fit. See, but you have to take this area in, and you have to open the sleeve right here. You have to open the sleeve up so you can get back in. Now, if you're coming from the shoulder, you've already opened the sleeve. So you understand what I'm saying? If you open the sleeve and you don't take this out, and you put it right back in the curve, then this will shoot out right here, this area right here. But if you've got to do this part up here and across the back, the width of the back, then automatically take that in.
Now, how does one properly? Now, this is all ready to wear, everybody.
This is ready
so
to
we'll
wear.
talk about how to do it on the flat pattern more specifically. But how does one surmise their best back width?
Well,
like their measurement.
The best back width that's across here.
I don't know if I have a narrow back exactly.
Yeah, the best width here is if you have, understand, if you have a garment that fits you across here the way you like it, this is called a ruler. You measure the width across it, see? And wherever it comes off, if the other one comes off at a different area on your garment, that's where you need to put your mark, right? Based on one that fits. That's from the center back to where you want the sleeve to fit back in. This area here is a common area that's always too big on women. Now, let's say it didn't have a center back seam. It was one piece. Well, you do the honorable thing. Fold the jacket in half, put your mark there in the center.
You gotta determine. Now, what if someone doesn't have a jacket that fits appropriately? Normally, people will just assume that you can just take your back measurement and apply that onto a pattern, but we know that doesn't include ease or anything
Right,
else.
it doesn't do
So
anything.
what is your recommendation for
Then the
someone?
recommendation for that, if you're altering it, when you open this area up here, that's right in there, pin or base down an area so that you take some of the fullness out. Try it back on and see if you need a little more, because you got a mirror, you look, you can see if it either needs to come in a little more or you come in too much and you want to ease it out. Then you'll repin it or baste it. I like basting because the pins hold it kind of jumpingly in spots.
You don't get the smoothness.
You don't get the smoothness.
Okay, is that okay for me to turn around? I know, I'm sorry if you guys couldn't hear me. So that's actually a good point, and that's why we always encourage muslins too.
Yeah,
Do your sample garment. That way you can see what fits
Absolutely.
really good. But you made a really good point earlier, I think, prior to filming, that majority of the good fit of a jacket is based on how well the back fits.
Right.
If the back fit is really bound up and tight, that means you won't have the coverage needed to fit the front.
That's right.
A lot of women will try to fit the front of the jacket first and totally ignore the back.
Right.
You got to get the back fit perfect, and then it will determine, you can see what you're working with the front. Is that correct? See, that's what I've always understood as well. So that's how that goes with jackets. And I think we'll just wait for next show to actually show them the flat pattern means of making adjustments.
No.
For like the shoulder and stuff?
No.
Let's do that.
I want to work that because for me to be successful in that that's a little longer thing for me to show you exactly where on your pattern.
Okay, I think, but we do have a tailoring jacket course usually.
Yeah.
So I think that's covered in detail there.
Yeah,
But I think what we probably can say now is that standard-wise, shoulder measurement I think is usually what, 4 and a half?
4 to 4.5.
So you can
I don't
kind
care
of
what
air-
size you are.
Okay.
This area in here is only going to be so wide. I'm sorry, it is. So from something that's made or something that you're making, this is the key area here, because this area here determines the back of it.
That's right.
If you bring the shoulder out further, the back is automatically bigger.
That's right. And then there's other things to consider. Always consider shoulder slope. You might slope down, you might slope up. That's easily just a dart on your shoulder. So wherever that seam is, if you're up, you can release it. Wait, no. You pin it, tuck it in if you're down, and then release it if you're up. Also, don't misconstrue the fact that if it is tight in the back, Mr. Jim and I were talking about earlier, don't discount the fact that you might have fleshy arms and you're interpreting that as, oh, the jacket doesn't fit and it's too small in the back. No, it could be you're just too wide in your biceps.
This is your biceps area here. You have to, especially if you're making a garment, you have to always consider that part. Now, you have women who have a bigger bicep, but the rest of the garment fits.
Yeah.
So now you're in kind of a catch-22, because now to really get your, always remember this, whatever you do, you have to get the biggest part of your body in the garment. Then you have to work with the rest.
Very true. And that's why, so if you want to do this in a systematic step-by-step process, do take your body measurements, as we've always recommended. Try those, fit those out on the pattern, or measure those out in the pattern. That'll give you an idea of where you fit. If you're going to fit in it, if you're not. It doesn't make any sense to sew a garment you're not going to fit into.
That's right.
Once you get in it, especially like a muslin sampling garment, then you can go in and do what we call fine-tune fitting. And you can pinpoint the specific areas. Just a thing like the sleeve, if your bicep's too small, that's an easy fix. That's a matter of going in, actually splitting and spreading the sleeve to add for some of the mass in there. And we can talk about
Let me give you a thing, what you said about, if you're going to make a muslin pattern up, getting all of this fit in here. When you make the muslin pattern up, make one sleeve. Don't put two in there. Don't put two in there. Why? Because number one, you could now see
the arm
bicep. You could see the sizing of the armhole.
If it's too high, if it's too low,
you can shave it out.
Point. Yeah, I used to do that.
So if you have a sleeve in there and it feels too tight,
you can't really pinpoint the reason.
But you can see. You don't have to have two of them to see. You only need one of them. If it's too full up under here, what you do is the one without the sleeve, pin or base that one down first.
True.
Okay? Because it's open. This one you've sewn. Okay?
Good point.
If the bicep is too small on this one, make the sleeve up on this one with a bigger area.
Yeah, and then you have 2 points where you can try on. So it's really neat. The muslim's a really good process.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is definitely follow your wrinkles. It's kind of, you learn to read the wrinkles.
Yeah.
If your back is too big, your jacket is going to obviously,
it's
you're going to have wrinkles like this.
Yeah.
You're going to see the collapse. And like you're saying, the wrinkles are usually up and down. If it's too tight, then you'll see it pull taut like this, and you'll have these horizontal wrinkles. So you can kind of point to where the problem is. And then sometimes there's a little bit more complicated matters, like if you have protruding what is it, your bones back here? What is that called?
I forgot that.
Yeah.
That's the blade area.
Yeah, then you can see where there's radiating wrinkles just particularly from that area, your shoulder blades. So different things like that. There's lots of great resources out there, but we just wanted to, in this lesson, just try to give you an idea on how to better fit your fall garments, the back, shoulder, and like we talked about, even sleeve or complex areas. But if you kind of can do step by step, kind of deciding, you can figure it out. So is that right?
Well, guys, we appreciate you as always.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Thank you for showing up. Next week we'll tackle another fall clothing fitting issue. I feel kind of bad because we don't have fall weather yet. It's like 80 degrees outside. I'm wearing a t-shirt. But anyway, we'll be ready for us. And I know the rest of some of the other people, you guys are already experiencing it. But love you guys, and we'll talk to you later.
Okay.
All right.
Bye
Take
now.
care. Bye.